you kidding me? I think I should apologize to Magnus Carlsen.
Is this a dream?
If it is, Hikaru never wants to wake up.
Did you just do what I thought you just did?
That is the ultimate commentator's curse.
I don't think I have ever seen a call like this.
I think I should retire. I think Magnus probably prefers that.
I think you should republish the new edition of Nostradamus' Prognostications or whatever his book is called. That was insane.
Oh my gosh. So you can find me there. No, but that was just crazy.
When does Magnus blunder a piece like that? Name a time that he's done that.
And look at him. I mean, he just looks just confused, upset. He's not like that was a one-move blunder in a good position.
There was a knight on a6. He played bishop f4 to c7, putting the bishop on pre. We don't have to show it again. That's literally all that happened. He's still shaking his head. He's got to put it behind them, though. Right? The good news, 30 more minutes. This lead is what it was at the start of the segment. So it's important for Magnus not to blow this up into greater proportion than it was. But, oh my lands, what a blunder.
And I'm looking at Hikaru. He remains very focused because I think when your opponent blunders, yeah, it's easy to laugh. It's like, okay, that's not going to happen again. But it's also easy to lose your focus. So Hikaru, he's still evaluating every single turn that's played. And this position is one where I would say Black doesn't really have problems. Look at the coordination of Black's pieces. The bishop on b7 is stellar. The rook on d8 staring down the line towards many of White's minor pieces. So I actually like Magnus's position in this game.
And what I would compare this to in a weird way is the match with MVL. The first couple games of the 3-minute portion where Maxime was in control every single game, and all 4 of the first games ended in a draw. He was not able to cut into the lead, and ultimately I think that was the match-deciding storyline. We're seeing something similar here where Magnus is playing much better, but he doesn't have anything to show for it on the scoreboard as of yet.
No, he does not. And we see the queen go out to e2. Rook goes to 8. That's the only open file. You know, the d file is open, no pawns in its way, but there are minor pieces in the path. So I still like Black's position. White has a long-term advantage. And what I mean by that is you have 2-on-1 on the queen side. That's good for a pure endgame. But with many pieces on the board, it's often good to have more pawns in the center because that restricts the enemy pieces, gets you good control of important squares.
This is essentially a dream setup, and Magnus inducing yet another weakness. F2, F3, Ben Feingold cringing somewhere. Hopefully he's watching the match. Where is the knight going to go back to? Because you actually have to be careful. There are some knight takes e6 tactics hanging in the air.
That would be just an absolute shot if you can get knight takes e6 to work. And knight c5 protects well, b4, not out of the question, though it's very loose, right? b4, knight a4. Even if it works out, it's scary to play. It's hard to see all the way through.
Hikaru making some progress. Knight to b5, knight c4 to e5 opens up a line of contact between the queen and the other knight. And it just feels like Hikaru is more comfortable in all these positions. Magnus just seems discombobulated, and so do his minor pieces.
Yes, they are connected with one another. That's the good news. His rook's on a8. That's an open file. The push does hurt White's dark square, so you can count your blessings in that way. But as you're highlighting, the queen is in the rook's path if it goes to d1. You can get that open file. The rook a1 for Black, maybe at some point, is worthy of consideration. But also look out for knight takes f7, and then the e6 pawn collapsing.
And you can preface that with b4 to knock the knight out of c5. And actually, I think White is very close to making that work. Hikaru definitely going to spend some time to calculate it. But if he doesn't want tactical complications, he can just play a calm move like rook d1 and keep the tension.
Yeah, rook d1 is viable here. b4 looks very strong. I actually don't see what Black's response is after b4 because knight takes f7, while my queen takes e6, and there is b4, step 1.
Oh my gosh.
You see Hikaru looking off screen? I actually think, I don't know for sure, and I'll ask our team, I wonder if he has Magnus, like his camera there, and he's trying to look at Magnus's reaction.
Which is a totally viable thing to do, because at this point, he can still double back. He doesn't have to play knight f7, and if he would see Magnus huffing and puffing and shaking his head, I think that would increase the likelihood of knight takes f7. But let's see it, Hikaru. Come on. Knight f7, queen e6, bishop c4. Looks like a long-term attack and 2 pawns for the piece. I think it's a practical decision. but he doesn't do it.
He was a little indecisive when it came to that sacrifice. It was bishop d2, just protecting the pawn at c3. But now he's saddled with some long-term weaknesses. The c3 pawn is attacked by 2 of the black knights. If you were to push up to c4, b4 falls. So I think that Magnus, he will remain alert to the f7 capture.
Wait, now takes the knight d6 at the end.
I think I got to stop talking.
You're unbelievable.
We did it again. Come on.
As always. But Hikaru, he has to decide on it. It's still not that obvious after knight d6. There's queen e7. It's messy.
But look at Hikaru. I mean, he's spotting the tactics. Queen e7 play. And look at the eval. Wait a second. Was knight d6 the best move? Because I feel once we got here, the evaluation went down. And the reason why is if queen e7, the bishop takes back, you take this on b7, c3 falls, b4 falls next, and then knight is kind of trapped, stranded on b7.
You called it earlier. White is beginning to pay the price for the move before, the positional price. And now Magnus actually keeping pieces on the board. What a move by Hikaru as he squeezes his way into c6. And another blow for Magnus. I don't see him holding this with 30 seconds. Yeah, because I think Hikaru's taking this one.
Knight e7, there's bishop c4, threatening checkmate on f7.
Oh.
Yeah, you stop one idea, but you open a different avenue there. And Magnus, he's down on the clock. He might have to just take on c3. Like, I think he just has to...
Don't you dare... Yeah. I was going to say, don't you dare call knight e7, bishop c4. Whatever you're saying seems to become the truth. Where does the queen go, though? Everything's collapsing. Pieces are hanging. Queen a7 on the board.
And he found the best move.
Take the knight...
Okay, bishop takes c6 with a knight on c3. If you take on a8, queen takes a8. You have everything covered.
Perpetual. It might be time for white to bail out.
You could take on b6, I feel like.
But then queen d5. Is Magnus the one going for it? No, he can't go king g6, can he?